Everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the NBA slate for this evening. This is Saturday. Just want to do something quick. I might end up doing both DraftKings and FanDuel, or maybe just DraftKings in this one video, depending on whether I pause it or whatever. First of all, hope you guys have a good Super Bowl Sunday tomorrow. And I do want to go over this slate for this evening. Bobby's out today, but I told him I would just put one up here. Saturday evenings, just so you guys know, is very tricky for DFS. You get a lot of guys ruling themselves out for a number of reasons. And today, we already have had several people get ruled out, which makes the slate very, very interesting. And I'm going to approach it, I don't know, maybe a different way than game by game. Uh, we'll see. First of all, what I've done is I've kind of listed the quote unquote obvious value that's kind of come up as a result of all of the rule outs today. First of all, Elfrid Payton was suspended because of his altercation with Jay Crowder, and Frank Ntilikina has also been ruled out, which makes Dennis Smith Jr. starting at 3,100 kind of a difficult fade at the point guard position. He's going to be extremely high owned, but I don't think I can get away from him at 3,100, even though there's certain blowout risk and things like that. But I don't think there's much way around this. And he's not going to really hurt you that much if if you're wrong about him. So he's the first guy just kind of put in here. And then the other big news is that Kristaps Porzingis was ruled out. Actually, two bits. Kristaps Porzingis was ruled out. He was going to be a tremendous play anyway because Luka's still out. So when he got ruled out, all of these Dallas guys kind of pop. Delon Wright, DFS, Dead Story and Finney Smith, Maxi Kleber, and Tim Hardaway Jr. All four of those guys are, rating to be just really, really good plays and also really chalky plays also. And so I put all these guys in here also to get this thing started. And you'll see where I'm headed here in a few minutes. The other bit of news that Kemba Walker was ruled out. So Jason Tatum is popping as a really, really strong play. Now, he's not a cheap value. He's 7,100, but he's rating to be a really, really good play. So as you go through this slate, you got to think about what you're going to use this value for, if in fact you use it. You know what I mean? Are you going to use it to, create game stacks within this game? Are you going to use it to open up kind of studs, which along the way? Or are you going to use it to open up good game stacks or little mini game stacks outside of this game? And you'll see where I'm headed as we do go through game by game and see, what is the purpose of using this value? Like, what are we going to get out of this? What type of low-owned, high upside correlations are we going to get from doing this? So in this New York-Indiana game, I'm not going to play anybody else from this game. I'll just kind of cut right to the chase. Nobody really projects to be that good of a value. The only way you could do this, again, is if you want, you could try to run some kind of game stack, meaning you have this Dennis Smith Jr. value. You could hope the game stays close and maybe just pick another Nick and maybe run it back with someone like Malcolm Brogdon or Sabonis or somebody like that. But I don't think the projections are good enough to make that really viable. It's also a low total. It's not a very exciting situation here. Brogdon's a little fishy just because Oladipo is continuing to get more, probably going to be, maybe he's not going to get any more minutes tonight. Maybe he'll be limited to 24 minutes, but that's enough to kind of impact Brogdon. Although I will say it didn't impact him yesterday. I mean, the last time he played with Oladipo on the court, he had a really, really good game. But I am not going to use any of this value to access anybody else in this Indiana game. And none of them really look to be kind of really good plays. So likewise, in this Miami-Orlando game, the only two guys that really have any appeal for me that's popping in any form are going to be really obvious plays. It's going to be Butler and Vooch. Now, what I would say is that both these guys are going to be pretty low owned on this slate, I believe. So one thing you could do is you could run these guys back one against the other. So you could play like a Vooch with a Butler and kind of get access to kind of a low-owned lower owned situation. And like you see, like with all this value kind of plugged in, now I'm not going to use all of this, right? But it allows you so much salary that you can do whatever you want. Like you can play Vooch and Butler and still have room to upgrade elsewhere. So that's the point of why I put this value stuff in, is to see what it allows you to do. Um, and again, that doesn't mean you have to play all four of these Dallas guys, but again, there's not a lot to spend on the slate. So we'll see. We'll see what we can get to. But I guess my first thing would be Butler and Vooch. That could be a low-owned, decent play that, you get overtime. It certainly helps you. And these are going to be the top scorers, I would imagine, from both teams. So maybe they run it, one scores, the other scores, that kind of thing. But that would be the first thing I would consider. But you probably get to some better things in a minute. Like, for example, like this Brooklyn-Washington game, it's going to be kind of obvious what you want to do here if you want to do anything at all, right? So, like, it's a 240 total. So you're going to look to the highest scoring plays that hopefully project well relative to their price. And on the Brooklyn side, you got Kyrie Irving, who's, admittedly coming off a really big game on a back-to-back, which is not ideal, but he's still, against this Washington defense is going to project to be a really, really strong play. So you could play him, and he's going to be owned for sure. But what you can do is you can run it back with Bradley Beal, who might not be as highly owned because he's at 9,900, and we've seen these games from Beal before, pretty much all the time. We love playing him cheaper, but he's going to be lower owned today, and you can get him, right. You could do, like I said, kind of whatever you want. Like, let's just say that you don't want to play DeLon Wright. You could put Beal in over there, and you can put Hardaway at small forward. That's what makes this slate so easy. Not easy. This value so easy is you have multi-position eligibility out of these guys also. So you could run Beal back with who did I say? With Kyrie. So let's put him. I'll put him in the utility for now, and with plenty of money left, right? And this only uses 3 of the Dallas values. Again, you don't even have to use 3. You can use 2, whatever. But it allows you to get pretty much whatever else you want. And again, you get to use this Tatum business, and Tatum's going to be kind of chalky, but only 20% is really not that bad considering the position he's in. And we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm not going to go multiple stacks in this Brooklyn game. I just think if I play this, it's just going to be the 2 main guys, and that's going to be Beal and Kyrie. If you want to take a shot at DeAndre Jordan, maybe on Brooklyn, you could try that. But Washington, you could go back to Thomas Bryant, but I don't think I'm going to do it. Again, nothing fancy for me. I'm going to probably take what could be an overpriced Bradley Beal, hopefully reducing his ownership, and just hope these guys go off, which it's pretty likely they do. 2 of these guys, neither of them play any defense. Neither of these teams play much defense. Brooklyn's a little better, but I think that this is a really, really very strong 1v1 that you probably want to get at reasonable ownership. Another thing you could do, as we go ahead towards this Golden State game, similar to the Orlando situation, where you could get kind of a lower owned, a little mini stack there with Butler and Vooch. You could do something similar in this Golden State game if you want. Now, again, these are not going to be as good of a plays as guys like Kyrie and maybe other guys we'll talk about, but you can get D'Angelo Russell and run it back with Kevin Love. Kevin Love is going to be chalky, so you got to watch for that. But if you want, you could play a game stack with, instead of playing Beal, you can go with Russell and run that back. Is Kevin Love center eligible somehow? That would be fortunate because it allows me to not have to move anybody. But I wonder if Tatum is still forward eligible. I'll worry about him later. So you could put Kevin Love as a forward and leave yourself infinite money, right? So again, depending on how much of this you use, will dictate how many other kind of really good plays you can make. So, but I think that you could be greedy on this slate. I think you can really just try to make the guys you slot in be correlated. You know, I wouldn't script this and say, okay, give me these three Dallas and just let the optimizer just plot out, whatever. Because I really think that you could be greedy and, as I've just said, just try to get some good correlations today because it's easy to do, and I think that you get that extra oomph, as they used to say, out of that today. I think it's going to go a long way. So maybe the Love Russell is similar, I guess, to the Butler Vooch thing. It's not going to be the one everybody plays, although Love is probably going to be popular, but Russell won't be. And that's another thing you could do with this Dallas value. Now, let's go on. We'll get to this actual Atlanta-Dallas game in a minute, but for now, let's go to this Philadelphia-Boston game. I've referred to this Tatum being a really, really good play throughout the entire video, and he is. I mean, Kemba's out, and for a lot of reasons, as a result, Tatum is going to project to be a strong play. So it'd be nice if you could play him, and it'd be nice if you could play him at low ownership. You won't get that, but 20%'s really good enough for me in this situation. And one thing that you can do, like I said, when you have a good value, is you could look to see if you want to stack other guys in this game. So you'd think that with Kemba out, there'd be opportunities. You could play Brad Wanamaker if you want. Like if you want to be really sneaky and play Brad Wanamaker as a pivot off of Dennis Smith Jr. at the same price, you could do that, but I'm not interested. I mean, like, Brad Wanamaker stinks. And not that Dennis Smith Jr. is, an all-star either, but I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to go to Brad Wanamaker here. If you want to play Marcus Smart alongside of Tatum, you can certainly do that. Looks to be okay. I mean, not great, but that is one thing you could do. But what I think you could also do in this game is play a guy who may go a little overlooked today. I don't know, maybe. And from the same game, you could play Embiid on the other side. Now, again, he's been very, kind of uninspiring since he came back from injury. I shouldn't say uninspiring. It's not like he's got no points, but he certainly has not, reached value for anybody since they've come back, including what was supposedly a nut matchup against Atlanta. So, 47 points against Atlanta was actually not what people were expecting. They were expecting a real smash. So maybe people get off him a little bit today because of, was Horford playing? Kind of hoping Horford's playing. Well, actually, Horford's on. I'm sorry. Yeah, Horford's playing. So, maybe Embiid does not get the same, maybe the same degree of ownership if Horford were out. So he's someone that I could just slide in, and not that I'm going to play this exact lineup, but this is something you could do, right? You can get correlation for Tatum run back with a lower owned Embiid, I would think, and this Love Russell thing, and you chalk out on these Dallas values, and Dennis Smith Jr. and maybe this is all you need, While I'm here at this Philly game, let me just take a look at this. I'm kind of sick of playing Tobias Harris, if you want to know the truth. He's the next best play, I suppose, between him and Simmons. Tobias just tilts me. I don't know what to tell you. He doesn't project to be that great a play, so I don't really have to play him. How about that? So let's go to this Atlanta-Dallas game, which we've referenced, several times, and I just threw up there the chalk value, and that's who they're going to be. It's going to be Kleba, Delon Wright, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr. I really have no problem with any of them. There's one other guy I want to throw into the mix here. Like, one of the sites, the main sites, doesn't even have him in the player pool. And I find it difficult to find a script where he doesn't play. This is the problem. They picked up Willie Cauley-Stein like a week or so ago, and they really haven't played him. They're saying it was because they need to get him used to the offense or whatever it is, but it's going to be difficult for him not to play. what's his name out, with Porzingis out and Powell out. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to play this guy at the 5, don't you? I mean, Kleber can't play 36, 48 minutes. I don't know what else they're going to do. Yeah, okay, I know what you guys are saying. You can play Boban. Sure. That's certainly fine at 3K. You can certainly make the case that Boban's got to play. As a matter of fact, that's probably not the worst idea in the world, is to literally play one of these guys, either Willie Cauley-Stein or Boban, in almost every lineup, or certainly, if you're going to play kind of like big fields. I think that's really not the worst idea in the world. I just don't see a world where one of them doesn't play decent minutes, right? So that would be the one thing I would add to this Dallas value, is that I would throw Willie Cauley-Stein and maybe Boban into the mix as far as that goes. So one thing you could do, which I've waited till now to describe, is the really obvious thing, is just run it back, this whole thing back with Trae Young, right? Then that's one thing that a lot of experts like to do when you have this value, is just run it back with the top player on the other team. And the idea being is that you want everybody to smash, and that's the way this happens. Is that it's a close enough spread where you get all the Dallas value smashing and Trae Young smashing. I mean, then you're in business. And right now, the ownership on Trae Young is looking very, very tame. You want to know the truth? It's looking to be about 10%. Again, I find it difficult to see how that holds, but and look what you could do here. I mean, you don't have to play all these guys. You don't like playing Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever. You don't have to, but you could play 4 Dallas guys today. You play all these dudes. Run it back with Trae Young. And I still have D'Angelo Russell in, so you could spend wherever you want in this slate. You know what I mean? So take one of these guys out and put Kevin Love in. You want to be different? Take Kleber out and put in Kevin Love. And that's actually a pretty good idea. The idea being that if maybe Willie Cauley-Stein goes off, it's because maybe Kleber didn't have to play as many minutes, or maybe Kleber wasn't quite as good. So this is actually just kind of a pretty damn good idea, right? You play a Russell Love low-owned mini stack. You play most of the Dallas value, but you toss out the most popular one, which would be Kleber. You leave Hardaway Jr. in at the guard. You put Willie Cauley-Stein in, and then you run it back with Trae Young. Oh boy, we're gonna maybe something like that. Okay, for example. So let me go ahead to the next game then. So this is some football stuff in here. But you see how you could use value to like either access other games, or in this case, to access this game. Moving ahead to Charlotte, San Antonio. This is a game you're going to have to watch out for, because if LaMarcus Aldridge is playing, it's one thing, and if he's not, then it's something else. Let me see what the most recent news is on Aldridge. Like right now, they have him as questionable. Full participant shoot-arounds. I guess he's playing. If he wasn't, then it'd be, Jakob Poeltl night again. So one thing you could do is, hey, you could play LaMarcus Aldridge. He looks like a really good play. And you can do whatever you want. But what would be nice is if you had a good run back on the other side. And unfortunately, I was hoping that they would really just reduce the price on Devontae Graham, because he's been really doing poorly. But they left him. I think they moved him up maybe. 7,600. So I just don't think I'm going to get there. And Terry Rozier's up to 7,300. So it's just not going to work for me. So if anything, maybe I'll play a one-off. I would say I would maybe play a one-off Aldridge, but again, I kind of want to be kind of greedier on this slate. I'd rather just play guys with run backs and guys that correlate better when I have all the money to do so, right? Okay, moving on. Lakers Sacramento. Hey, you know, you could play this game. You could take your pick between either. Let's take these guys out. Let's take off Russell, take off Trey, like for example. Okay, look what you have. You have 9,500 per man. So if you want, you could take either LeBron or AD. Either of them would be very justifiable in this matchup, right? Throw them in, and you again have a very natural run back with what could be a chalky De'Aaron Fox. Now, again, if he's not chalky, I mean, all the better. Somehow, he's another one, multi-position eligible, Hardaway. So again, likewise, if you want to put Hardaway, the point I'm making is that I don't need to make these lineups for you guys. These lineups today really do kind of make themselves. Okay, so what I really think you should be doing is trying your best to find the low-owned ones and find the ones that correlate, like something like this. And even this leaves money on the table. Is Kleba, by the way, is he center eligible too? No way. Oh my God. Yeah. So this is going to be. Wait, you put Aldridge in this one if we want, right? The point I'm making is that you can make really, really strong lineups today. Um, who else from Sacramento do I like? I really don't like anybody else. For me, I don't even need to play Bogdan today. I just don't. I could play De'Aaron Fox with LeBron. I could play De'Aaron Fox even with this lineup without. I could almost get LeBron in right away. Um, and it's the existence of this value that allows you to do that. There's just one more game left. So Utah, Portland. So again, let's just clear the decks. Let's take Aldridge out, take Fox out, take LeBron out. Want to put Kleber back in the power forward to make it easy? Yeah, let's do that. Let's put Kleber back in power forward. And remember, this one didn't have DeLon Wright, so you could always recirculate DeLon Wright back into this mix. So in the last game, Utah Portland, there are several very playable guys on either side. Like you could play what could be a semi-chalky Donovan Mitchell, but what you could also do is play a less owned Rudy Gobert, who projects pretty well. Just the hell of it. If you put Mitchell in here. And then, boy, where do you think this is going to lead us? Oh, I mean, you could overpay for what's going to be a 10% or less owned Lillard. Right? So that could totally work. So, like for me, on a slate like this, there's two ways to approach it. Number one, like you said, is you could try to leverage off of this value, and there's a certain amount of wisdom to that. Okay, but for me, with Kristoff and Luka out, there's against Atlanta, there's just no way this is all failing. You know what I mean? Like two of these guys, I honestly believe that at least two Mavericks make 10x. I don't know which is. I really don't know which they're going to be, but I feel as though fading all the Dallas values you're just losing. And I just feel as though the Dennis Smith Jr. chalk is just going to be difficult to fade. He's a point guard playing 30 minutes, probably. So, I mean, and it's not that he's terrible. He's just, not as good as people thought he was, I suppose. So, I would use my leverage in creating correlative complements to this value. And the other thing I would do, as I mentioned, is a guy that hasn't been really mentioned yet. I guess he will be. Will be Willie Cauley-Stein. I would make sure he's playing, obviously. Or Boban. That could be a way to get a little different, but I don't even think they're going to be that different either. I would, again, get my differentiation, get my juice by and this is going to seem weird, but I'm not going to play Lillard, for example, without these guys. I'm not going to play Butler without Vooch. I'm not going to play Kyrie without Beal. Really just make sure to get that correlation. Russell with Love. I think this is a day where if you script, you're kind of asking for trouble because you end up without the correlation you might need to be a little different. So that's pretty much my thoughts on this slate. I haven't decided whether I want to whether pause this and do FanDuel or just kind of just let this sit. Let me pause it for just a second. Let me see if there's any difference. All right, so just for the hell of it, let's see if we do our normal analysis of the way we normally do FanDuel analysis, if we come up with a similar type of idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm really just going to just put what I think are the best plays in each position as far as values go, and then just kind of see where it leads us. Like, for example, I might not on DraftKings, FanDuel, have to play Dennis Smith Jr. Okay, he rates to be fine. I mean, he's min cost at point guard, but there are other really, really good point guards, and since you have to play two anyway, you might not have to play Dennis Smith Jr. because when you look, you see that there's other positions where you don't need to get to certain guys. Okay, and that's why also when you look at ownership, it's not going to be as highly owned on FanDuel as well. The top owned guys are going to be Kyrie and Fox probably, and then what's his name, and then Trae Young. And I have no problem with any of those guys. So I'm going to put these guys in for now. Let's put in Kyrie, and let's put in De'Aaron Fox. We've talked about them before, but let's put these guys in. Like when you go to shooting guard, what's his name? DeLon Wright just looks to be just such a, I want to say lock in the wrong way, but he looks to be a really, really strong play. Okay. So I'm going to put him in. We could do whatever we want here. So the other three shooting guards, kind of my next favorites, are going to be actually one of the guys from the Celtics, maybe Marcus Smart at 5,800. But what I want to do is I want to see if I can get some of these. Let's make this thing work again. Because Bradley Beal rates to be a very strong play, and to get that correlation back with Kyrie, it's something really, really neat. He's looking to be below 20%, so it's not anything great, but certainly not the most chalky guy on the slate. D'Angelo Russell actually on FanDuel is looking to be a little chalkier even than Bradley Beal. So let's keep this together for now. Okay. Small forward. We're going right back to this. Go right back to this Dallas value. You have, Hardaway and Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, they just, as for the reasons I just mentioned, I mean, against Atlanta, all these guys just, two of them are going to just smash. Just the way the math works, I think. You want one other guy if you want another guy, you can maybe go play somebody like Alec Burks from the Warriors game. Like if you wanted to play like D'Angelo Russell along with guys like maybe with Alec Burks and run it back with Love, you could do that. But these guys definitely look like the best plays, Hardaway and Dorian Finney-Smith. So again, we're progressing in the same way, right? We're using this Dallas value, but at least we're using it for a reason. You could then access Beal and Irving with this type of correlation. Or you could play Trae Young if you wanted to also, right? Alongside these Dallas guys. So this is we're kind of heading in, I think, in the same direction. So Power forward, again, this Kleber's going to look to be a really strong play, but what are you going to do with that? Well, again, one thing you could do, like I said before, is play either you can go to Tatum, and again, Tatum looks to be a very strong play here. He just does. I wonder if all of this is going to be too chalky, but we'll see. You could put Tatum in. He's one of, again, my favorite power forwards, both on both sites. A little less so on FanDuel, but he still looks to be a really good play. And Kevin Love looks to be a really good play also. But again, what I would do is if I were going to play Love, just because I can get away with it, right? If I played Love, I would probably want to run it back with Russell. So again, the presence of all this value just allows you to do that and be a little greedier. I will take a look at the center position. And at the center position, see this, I actually I have a lot of salary. I have Irving, Fox, Russell, Beal, Love. I mean, this is strong. I mean, this doesn't allow me too much at the center position, so I might have to change things. But let's talk about it. At the center position, I think that the best options are actually the 4 spend-ups. So let me just kind of review who those are going to be. Those are going to be either Whiteside, who actually has been better on back-to-backs this year, Embiid, Gobert, and or Vooch. Now, interestingly, let me see if I have to. I think that one of these guys is just going to have to be the ignored guy. Let's see. Well, it's funny. The highest owned guy is actually a cheaper guy. We're going to get to him in a second. But between those guys I just mentioned, Vooch, Gobert, Embiid, and Whiteside, I think it's pretty close between the 4 of them. So what you're going to have to choose is whether you want to do this or pay down for Bryant. And he's right now projected to be the top owned guy, but you don't have to play him. You know what I mean? Like, you could pay up for these centers. It just means you can't be as expensive elsewhere. So let me look. Which of these centers do I like the most? Between Embiid, Gobert, Vooch, Bryant. I'm just, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with the guy who is, I think, is going to be the lowest owned. And I don't even know who that is. How about that? So the problem is I'm looking at these guys, and none of these guys correlate with any of these guys I talked about already. So maybe I'm just going to ignore it. Maybe I'll do Embiid Tatum. Maybe that's the idea. So we put Embiid in, and then we put Tatum here, and then we have to get rid of one of these guys. Maybe not. You know what? I'm going to stick. I am going to go with Bryant. Because what Bryant actually allows me to do, now I'm actually double stacked here a little bit. Now I have Beal and Irving and Bryant. And I also have Russell with Love. This is actually pretty strong. This actually leaves 1,000 on the table. How can I upgrade this a little bit? Just as an example. I got $4,900 small forwards, right? What if I want to do a little bit of an upgrade? Can I get away with that? I mean, nobody actually looks that great. I guess the next thing I would do is maybe do Bielitsa. And what's cool about that is, can I get away with this? Yep. I can get rid of DFS and go up to Bielitsa. And that gets me kind of oh no, he's power forward. Crap. That's not going to work. And everybody else doesn't really correlate that well. So this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll figure it out, right? I'll figure it out. Right now, we'll put Hardaway back in. Oh, I'm spending so much time on this one bill, but I think I've already illustrated my point. I'm sorry, we'll put in Dorian Finney-Smith back in. How about we should leave 1,000 on the table? Say, come and get me. Yeah, let's do that. So the idea, actually running through FanDuel, what's different is that I didn't really need to use Dennis Smith Jr., right? So that is, I guess, one difference. And that's why he's not going to be as highly owned over here. But in any case, I hope this wasn't too fast. But again, I think that the slate, at least the way it stands right now, is pretty straightforward. You know where the value is. And then what you have to do is just make your favorite choices. When I say favorite, make sure that they're upside and not the chalkiest ones. Okay. And also today, we could also get that bonus of getting some correlation with whatever we're slotting in outside of these, for me, pretty obvious values. All right, that's about all I have. Enjoy your Saturday and enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And see you next week.